Welcome to a new dimension.
Great news! The Super FM Marketing Studio is now situated in the unique business district of Port Harcourt, GRA. To advertise your products and services, visit the Super FM GRA Studio and Marketing Office on the second floor, Vineyard Plaza, 88 Woji Road, GRA Phase 2, Port Harcourt.
Are you ready?
You can hit us up for live on-air interviews, production of jingles, commercial placement, infomercials, and so much more. Visit us at Super FM GRA Studio and Marketing Office on the second floor, Vineyard Plaza, 88 Woji Road, GRA Phase 2, Port Harcourt. Or call us on 0915 729 0709. That is 0915 729 0709. We are Super FM.
Once again, thank you so much for staying with us. Point blank this Saturday, and I have experts in the beauty sector in River State. It's a great pleasure having Town Planner Emmanuel Ikechukwu, who is the chairman. That is the Mnitp. That is I think Institute of Town Planning, am I correct? Yeah, member Nigerian Institute of Town Planning is the chairman. And also we have Town Planner Clinton Sopuruchi NJOKU, who is the Public Relations Officer, the Nigerian Institute of Town Planners. And we have Town Planner Opiriba Ikiriko, who is the past chairman, Nigerian Institute of Town Planners, all in River State. Gentlemen, I want to thank you sincerely for coming to the studio this morning. Let us begin with the recent incident. And I'm going to start with the chairman of the Nigerian Institute of Town Planner, Mr. Ikechukwu. How did that come to you? What's your initial feeling when you heard about the building collapse in the week?
Thank you for having me. In fact, it came as a rude shock because in the first place, most of these collapses are avoidable. But going down memory lane, you observe that the urban and regional planning profession have suffered a checkered history since the creation of River State in 1967. So there has been a lot of challenge, starting from the failure of the implementation of the Port Harcourt Metropolitan Local Planning Authority by the SPIV administration. And since that time, you observe that the urban and regional planning has been kind of docked into a kind of, how would I put it, as in not really giving the place for it to really express itself and deliver the value it ought to. And then going forward, you notice that during those mid-70s, late 70s and the mid-80s, some good attributes and elements of planning was felt. And that led to the preparation of plans. A number of plans, including the Port Harcourt master plans and master plans for a number of local government areas in River State. And then fast forward, we got to the domestication of the Urban and Regional Planning Law, Decree 88 of 1992, which was crafted as the River State Fiscal Planning and Development Law, number 6 of 2003. Now, if you check the time from 2003 to date, we are talking of 20 years. And unfortunately, no element, no iota of this law has been implemented. And that goes to tell you that government is either they don't respect their own law, or they just decide to disobey the law which they have made.
Okay, but a lot of people have also argued that some of these laws are obsolete and they don't conform to modern day realities. Perhaps that's one of the challenges. Now, gentlemen, we could speak on that. Yes.
Of course, the law at this point in time is obsolete. But if this law has been implemented right from inception, at least we'll begin to move with the dynamics of time. Now, the law provides, one of the provisions of the law is to establish a physical planning board. Another provision is to establish local planning authorities across the 23 local governments of Rivers State. And as we speak, not one is in existence. So with situations like this, you begin to deduce the cause of the failure of planning in the state, which definitely you attribute to the government, because the government have not really shown the concern they are supposed to show with regards to planning.
Okay, so I want Mr. Clinton and also Mr. Opiriba or Mr. Ikiriko to also join in this discussion again. When we talk about laws, I want us to be very, very clear. Are there building regulation laws in River State? I want us to be very clear, because you see, sometimes when you talk about these laws, okay, so are there building regulation laws in River State?
Well, you see, there is a national building code,
Okay.
which almost all states try to adopt to. And in that, the series, there are layers of, approvals you're supposed to get for each specific area. We have not fully adopted that in Rivers State, but there's a national provision which runs side by side other provisions. Now, when sometime the former commissioner of fiscal planning, Osemagina, he tried to review the law such that the state, the ministry, will develop standards to guide developments. Those standards, the initial one, was passed to all the professionals in the built environment in Rivers State. If the law had been changed, more or less,
Or accented to?
yes, the one Semagid was pursuing, then the ministry, in conjunction with other professionals, would have been able to, provide and provide standards to manage buildings. In conjunction, what I'm saying is not just about the town planners, but in conjunction with all other members of the built environment professionals.
Now, Mr. Ikiriko, if I may come in at this point, you see, the reason for this discussion, we know what happened and we know the action taken by government. One of them is the arrest of the engineer, the closure of the site, and also to say River State government will not condone this act again. But again, a lot of questions are beginning to come up, particularly on the rules that govern the built sector in River State. For example, I know in Lagos State, there is the Building Control and State Certification Process Law, which I think was put together by the Building and Civil Engineering Council. Do we have such regulation in River State? Do we have a process whereby we could monitor the stages of construction in the built sector?
That is what I'm saying. In terms of monitoring, even if we have not domesticated that, the law, the review of the law that was being pursued, also talked about regulations and standards. And those regulations and standards were passed to all the professional bodies. They okayed it. So these milestone supervision is part of that.
And whose responsibility is to do that? Milestone supervision. In that law, though the law has not been passed, it's not been assented to, but whose responsibility is it?
Okay. You have what you call building control.
Yes.
Development control.
Yeah.
And there is also a unit within the development control which ought to be building services unit, which will have the civil engineer, the mechanical architect, all members of the built environment professionals. That unit, would have been the unit that goes round milestone 1 foundation. They would have seen how the foundation is. And again, you see, this building issue have several stages. The architect is a professional visionary who takes the client's vision into reality. But the architect is checked by the structural engineer who says, no, this is not doable, this is doable, let us change. But in all, you have the advisory role of the geotechnical person who prepares the soil report and advises the architect and the structural engineer on how the foundation should go, because he talks about the carrying capacity and all those things. So it is a process. Now, the existing, because most times when building collapse, they say, what is the urban Ministry of Urban doing? Today, as I tell you, the system, it is the local government that vets the structural components.
But what we see the local government do presently is to collect developmental levies and taxes. I'm not sure this vetting, and again, do they even have the professionals to do the vetting? Gentlemen, let's have, yes, go ahead.
I think they do.
Yeah.
They do.
But why are they not doing it?
Well, that is this thing. They do. Because surprisingly, the local government doesn't demand for soil tests, the soil test report. They don't demand for the structural reports, calculation sheets. Those are the foundations. But in the Urban and Regional Planning Ministry, you cannot get your approval except those documents are there.
Okay, fantastic. We'll still continue this discussion, and if you don't, I would like for you to speak. If you just tune in, we're looking at the issue of building collapse. Now, we've just had one, the first of this year that we know of. But the question we're asking is: are we inadequate in laws, or we're suffering from breach in implementing these laws? And we're asking: are our laws adequate enough to cater for cases of building collapse? And the reason for this is because we don't want cases of building collapse. Just like the Rivers State government said that cases of building collapse will not be allowed in River State. But what provisions have we made? And I'm speaking to experts in the build sector. I'm speaking to members of the Nigerian Institute of Town Planners. I have in the studio Emmanuel Ikechukwu, who is the chairman of the institute, Clinton Sopuruchi, who is the public relations secretary, and also I have town planner Opiriba Ikiriko, who is the past chairman of the Nigerian Institute of Town Planners. So we are asking, whose responsibility is it? How can we ensure that this does not happen again? You've not said anything
yes,
yet.
Thank you, Mr. Sheikh. Town planning administration everywhere is backed by law, and each operation should follow a laid and legal framework. Unfortunately, what we have in Rivers State is not it right. Just as you mentioned, the Lagos State, they have the Lagos State Physical Planning Law, and then they have the Lagos State Planning Permit Regulation to effectively enforce the law. Here in Rivers State, for instance, the Ministry of Physical Planning and Urban Development, then the Development Control, who's by the Rivers State Physical Planning Law of 2003, is supposed to carry out this function, is completely handicapped. For instance, that means that department is supposed to be a multidisciplinary department where you have all the key professionals of the building environment, the architect, the surveyors, the civil engineer, and the rest of them. But what we have today is not the right number. For instance, in that department, there is only one staff who is the director currently, and they have only one operational vehicle. So how on earth are they going to carry out these oversight functions?
So, gentlemen, what I hear you say right now, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that in River State, we don't have the necessary enactment that would ensure that we don't have cases of building collapse. And what I also hear you say is that even when we have the laws, they are not in force, and we don't even have the manpower to prosecute it. Am I correct? Mr. Ikiriko, you seems to be, you want to say something before I go to the telephone line?
In a way you are. In manpower in that ministry is next to nothing. The entire ministry has about 7 professional staff only to man, what area? Now, because of that, commissioners have made that place a playground where they bring their boys who are not professionals, they are not trained, they do not work under any specific director. And sometimes they tell you that they are not answerable to the director. Incidentally, I was in a PAMSEC's office. He's retired, Amiofori, let me call name. And he tried to call one group to order. Those people run rings in the communities and all those things. And the person told him that he's not answerable to him. I was there and the man turned to me, Ikiriko, do you hear what I'm hearing? Now, the existing laws are not really implemented, especially as it relates to the ministry, the one guiding the ministry. So when you talk of obsolescence, about something being obsolete, you need to implement before you know that
it is obsolete. But even the one that you said could be a bit effective has not been passed.
Yes. The assembly passed it.
But has not been assented to.
But it was not assented to. And I'm telling you...
But do you think that could give you the solution? That could give us some semblance of solution, or can create some sanity in the build sector?
Yes. Because in that review, the ministry is empowered to do standards and regulations. Because the truth is, if you look at the fiscal planning law, it has not really empowered the ministry or the organs to prepare standards. It means you fall back to the national. But this one that was pursued under the immediate past governor would have given some empowerment to the ministry.
If it has been assented.
Yes, from time to time, to do regulations, to do standards in conjunction with the other members of the built environment professionals, and also would have empowered the ministry to bring that joint team of monitors, the building services unit under the development control.
I'm going to ask you to hold on to that line of thought, because I will take a call now. And after taking the call, one of our caller who spoke to us immediately we had a building collapse was calling for collaboration amongst those in the build sector. And I'll be asking you, as town planner, what would you want to see changed in the immediate so that we don't have a reoccurrence of what we saw? I just wanted to hold on. Let me just take on this call. Dr. Christian Otiasa is joining us again. Good morning.
Hello, Pastor Shego. Once again, I cannot take this privilege for granted.
Thank you.
I greet you, sir. Let me greet my colleagues. I'll call them colleagues because there are areas we share. We are all workers of the earth profession, the built environment. Pastor Shego, you will recall that most times when I call on this program, I blame the physical and urban planning ministry, and specifically I hit hard on the building control department. Today they have said it. I'm afraid this program today, you may not have all the powers, the time for them to talk. I would beg, I'll be on my knees that you create adequate time for these people to come back so that let us do justice to it and do justice to River State, including lives that are not born yet. Pastor Shego, you'll agree with me that all of even the waste management issues we are having, to a greater extent, is a result of poor urbanization. The non-inclusion of professionals in planning is a key disservice to River State. Pastor Shogun, you are old in this city to know that before now we are not having flooding as much as it is today on the bank road doing that along that central bank axis. The urban ministry is sitting down, so many things are happening. I thank Barrister Simagina for the initiative he took. Though a lot of consultations were not done, at least it would have been a leverage for some people. But now that thing was not assented to. I am begging Right Honorable Martins Amewule. He's one person I admire. He should work for River State. He should work for nature. He should work for Mother Earth. Call back that bill as it is. Look at it, involve professionals to critique, add, subtract, and make sure that these things are made good for implementation. Today, we are suffocating. It is not only that ministry. So many ministries need rejigging. So many ministries need rejigging
so much,
to function properly. Thank you, and God bless you.
Well, again, just let me say that, and with the permission of the members of the Institute of Town Planners, we will bring you back to the studio. We apologize that we had to start late. This is due to some exigencies, but we will definitely bring you back. And again, the issue Dr. Otiasa has raised a very serious issue. This is the time we begin to look at our policies, our laws that are governing the built sector in River State. Are they in order? Are they even in line with some states in Nigeria? I just cited Lagos State. I told you some of the laws they have in Lagos State, which are absent in River State. And the question is, what should we begin to do? But for the purpose of what has happened, I'm going to give you a minute each because we've gone beyond our time to tell us what should Governor Similai Fubara do in the immediate so that we don't have a reoccurrence. I'm going to start with you, the past president, Mr. Ikiriko.
I think we all need to sit together, the built environment professionals, perhaps guided by the Ministry of Fiscal Planning, to set up proper organization. We already have put in place the process of synergy amongst the built environment professionals. But just like we said, everything was truncated because it was not assented to, and it also disrupted the issue of making standards, guidelines, in collaboration with other professionals to push for development in the state.
Fantastic. Let me ask the present chairman of the Nigerian Institute of Town Planners, Mr. Ikechukwu Emmanuel, 60 seconds. What should the governor do now?
What the governor should do now is to professionalize that ministry.
Ministry of Urban Development.
Yeah, Ministry of Fiscal Planning and Urban Development is a professional ministry. Everything that is done there is done by professionals. And that should start by the appointment of a commissioner that is a town planner. And also let's have a permanent secretary that is a town planner. That is what we have in Lagos. That is what we have in Abia. That is what we have in Akwa Ibom. Our sister states around here, all their commissioners are town planners. So when you have a town planner as a commissioner, he understands the language. He knows what to do. He knows how to fashion out policy directions that will help the government to guide planning. So let us start from that point. If we start from that point, I believe we'll get it right.
All right. Let me speak to the spokesperson of the Town Planners Association. Yes.
Okay, sir. To also add to that, the governor also needs to effectively employ professionals of the environment to fill up the vacuum that are in that ministry. Just as I mentioned earlier, a development control has one single staff. So the governor should, as a matter of urgency, employ more of town planners, architects, and engineers to man the offices. And again, the also government should also try to have a discussion with these professionals to chat way for, especially now we have prediction of a flooding coming up. The caller just mentioned. You should be able to sit with the professionals to envisage ways of mediating these challenges.
Fantastic. And again, let me apologize to the Nigerian Institute of Town Planners. I learned that there was a miscommunication. You had gone to the GRA studio, and that is the reason for this delay, and you had to come here. We apologize for that. But I assure you that we would give you adequate. I would definitely talk about this, and we'll take time to look at the laws, the enactment, and what we should begin to do as a people. But again, I must thank you for keeping faith with us and for staying with us. Town Planner Clinton Sopuruchi, who is the spokesperson of the Nigerian Institute of Town Planner. Thank you so much, sir. Mr. NJOKU, thank you so much.
We hope to come back as soon as you say.
Definitely, we would.
Before the middle of this month.
Yeah, definitely we will do that. And also Town Planner Emmanuel Ikechukwu, who is the chairman, Nigerian Institute of Town Planner. Thank you so much. And also the immediate past chairman of the Nigerian Institute of Town Planners, Opiriba Ikiriko. I think we've had discussion before in the past, several years ago, I'm sure. Thank you so much for coming over again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Again, that's it on Point Blank, and we must thank the Nigerian Institute of Town Planners for coming to the studio this morning to talk to us. We will definitely bring them back. Burning issues, a lot of issues relating to the urban management in River State. What should we begin to do so as to be at par with some states in Nigeria and even surpass some states in Nigeria? And thank you for being part of the show this morning. Stay with us for other programs on Super FM.